We get front row seats at Belvoir Castle for one of the finest pheasant shoots in England with the seated gun.
Most estates, I think, if you talk to them, you ask them and you speak to them and let them know what you need, what you don't need and what assistance you need, all these estates are more than happy to help.
I'm in Florida trying one of the most testing walked up shoot days I've been on, bobwhite quail.
10 to 1.
Old hunting trophies are terribly unpopular, say Boris Johnson and Zach Goldsmith. We pull the stuffing out of that fairy tale. We're giving away shooting hearing protection from ISOTunes, priced at £170. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. If you have ever tried shooting sitting down, maybe wildfowling or in a pigeon hide, you'll know it's not easy. Today we're out with Jean-Paul Gaudin, known as the seated gun because he shoots from a wheelchair. So how does he manage?
The big thing for me is positioning the chair. So whereas if you're a stood gun, obviously you've got the ability to sort of turn on the balls of your feet, turn a little bit right, turn left, even spin all the way around. Obviously the thing is when you're in a chair, you are in a fixed position. I've got a lot of metal work down my left side, so for me, I always make sure I'm angled at 45 degrees to where the birds are being driven, so that I've got an angle of literally 180 kill zone, which is in reality my shooting area, because after that it should be your next guns or the guns at each side of you. It's then their areas. I'm also very fortunate because yes, I'm in a chair. Yes, I'm had a broken back from a motorbike racing accident, but the long and short of it is that I still have movement and I still have my abdominal muscles. So for me, balancing is a lot easier than if you're sort of up here, where that then becomes a problem. We're here at Belvoir Castle today, sort of Leicestershire, Lincolnshire borders. We always come and have our end of season day here. So we've got a team here of 9 guns today. Guns that we shoot with throughout the season. It's been a busy season this season, so we started here at Belvoir. We had an amazing partridge day in October. We've then spent an awful lot of time in Wales this year, so we've done the Brighams, Dovey, Ridgeway, Bettis, Plasdinum, and then we've been up to Yorkshire a couple of times. We've been to Derby a couple of times. We've been down in Swindon, Wiltshire area, so you name it, we've been a bit everywhere. We're here for a 230 bird day today. Predominantly pheasant, although I understand we are going to have a bit of a partridge drive as the next drive, so it should be a nice mix to the day. First drive was a challenge. The birds were fantastic. It was just a shame that I wasn't so great with them. But you know, drive 2, we'll see what we do now. I think that makes up for drive 1, James, to be fair. And we took a fair few birds on there, so nice pheasants, had a nice, certainly a nice left to right, couple of nice right to lefts as well, and a couple of overhead. So I think we made up a little bit for the disastrous drive 1. I think we're back in the seat, managing to do a little bit, so that's what it's all about.
Jean-Paul, or JP to his friends, has his own YouTube channel. He covers shooting with a disability and much more.
We started the YouTube channel predominantly because we kept getting asked by estates to help and explain where they could improve in regards to not just from a mobility access point of view, but also, you know, was it a day that exceeded expectations rather than just met with expectations? It started off really, I have to be honest, as, I wouldn't say a gimmick, but as a bit of a hobby type. We'll do it when we've got 5 minutes to do it, and it's actually ended up now being pretty much like its own standalone business really, because you know we're working with a lot of fantastic brands that are asking us to test equipment. We are doing a lot of gun reviews. We want the channel to be real. There are a lot of channels and there are a lot of people out there that can do this, do this, but it's all very fake in my opinion. It's not what happens on a day. You know, you've seen today. You know, we're at Belvoir Castle, one of the most exclusive, one of the most premier places to shoot in the country, and the gator breaks down. That's not their fault, that's mechanical, these things happen, but it's how it's sorted. You know, we were still brought to the peg. There's another gator on its way. It hasn't affected our day, and we wouldn't know any different. And I think that's the key to how a shoot should be run. You know, it should be about what's happening here on the peg, not what's going on behind the scenes. We all know what goes on behind the scenes, and the beaters, the drivers, the hosts, the keepers, everybody, the amount of work that these guys put in so that we can enjoy our day is immense. Hats off to those guys. But in the same angle, it's important that as a channel, we also show that things do go wrong. And, you know, I don't hit every bird that I shoot. You know, there are days when I have good days, days when I have bad days, but it's how you know, what goes on and how you take those days forward.
One of Belvoir's stalwarts is Big John, who's been part of this shoot for half a century.
I'm on my 50th year now.
On this estate?
Yeah.
Good heavens. Well, changed a bit since then, hasn't it?
Just a little bit, yeah.
For the better?
For the better, well, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
How has it changed over the years, do you think?
Well, from traditional keeping up to where we are. I mean, when I come here, we used to shoot about, I don't know, a couple of thousand now, 50, 60,000.
Right.
Commercial shooting, which is good for the estate. I mean,
yes.
That bungalow at top of the hill takes lots of upkeep.
yeah.
On to drive 3, and JP wants to try out a new gun.
Today I'm going to test new addition to the gun cabinet. So this is a Miracu MK60 high pheasant, which Belvoir's certainly not really the territory where you'd find one of these. It's a fixed choke, 32-inch barrel, full and 3/4 chokes on it. I've had it actually cut down, so it's actually made now for my stock length. So it's a 14 3/4 over the 15 1/4. Kicky's pad on the back. So yeah, we're going to give it a go. See how we get on, James.
One of the best drives on the estate, this for partridges. I mean, now we're getting later on in season. It might be a little bit low, but it'll be good. What'll come through here will be good birds, yeah.
Oh.
Shot, Matt.
Nothing wrong with that gun.
I've just got to remember
all the chapel full of the trigger.
I've got to remember to take the safety off Big John.
Go.
Shot, Ian.
New gun is always going to be slightly daunting because you know you've got an expectation level, but of course it helps as well if you don't make rookie mistakes like forgetting to take the safety off. But that's because I'm not used to having safeties on the guns. I have my safeties removed just because I prefer it that way. But yeah, all in all, I have to say, very happy.
JP is passionate about his driven shooting. Would he recommend the sport for someone with a disability?
I think certainly from a wheelchair perspective, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are mobility impaired, whether they be veterans, whether they just be old age, injured, hip replacements, those types of things. And I think this sport isn't the most forthright in coming forward and saying, we can do it.
Yeah.
So I think from a point of what I try and do is, you know, is just to show that it can be done and that, you know, you make it whatever you want to make it. And most estates, I think if you talk to them, you ask them and you speak to them and let them know what you need, what you don't need and what assistance you need, all these estates are more than happy to help. You know, they'll get a mule to bring you to your peg. They'll try and position you on something flat, which is difficult because we are in the country. Let's not forget that. Yeah. You know, this is not a tennis court or an astro field where it is all flat. So, you know, from all those types of things, you've got to bear that in mind. But generally, the estates are so helpful. I think if you just ask them the question, I think more people could be involved. It's been a good day to end the season on, really. We've had some great days this season, and you know, it doesn't get much better than finishing it at probably one of the most beautiful and prestigious estates in the country, Belvoir Castle.
There are links to Belvoir and JP's YouTube channel in the description below. And for more about Miracu guns, go to browning.eu. Thank you, JP. What a lovely day's shooting. Next up, it's our own screamer. It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Police have hit 2 friends with gun confiscations. Devon and Cornwall Police sent 4 armed officers to seize guns from deer stalker Tom Wyndham Smith. His friend Arthur Harvey later agreed to collect the guns from a police station. Then he had his guns confiscated and certificate revoked.
At 10 o'clock they turned up, and 4 of them, armed police with machine guns, sidearms, tasers and torches flashing around in the back garden. Yeah, very scary for myself and my girlfriend. I didn't surrender my guns. My guns were taken by force, and I was terrified that if I didn't hand over my guns, they would have arrested me, taken me. Or potentially I could have been shot, yes.
We have more on this story and all the stories in this bulletin on our website. Danish hunters are delivering equipment to the Ukrainian Civil Defence Force. Kits like camouflage jackets and boots are being collected and driven to Ukraine in private cars. Ukrainian defence volunteers currently lack warm hunting-related gear such as backpacks, sleeping bags and water bottles. There are collection points around Denmark. Meanwhile, the International Shooting Sports Federation is banning Russian and Belarusian shooters from taking part in its competitions, including World Championship target and clay shooting events. The League Against Cruel Sports has introduced a hunting with dogs bill for Scotland to replace the law written in 2002. Lax now says its 2002 law has failed. The Scottish Countryside Alliance accuses the government of compromising farmers' livelihoods with new legislation. It says the Hunting with Dogs bill deprives people of the right to protect livestock. The new law says no more than 2 dogs can be used to flush out animals like foxes or hares unless a licence has been granted. Predators can only be controlled in certain circumstances, for example, preventing damage to livestock, timber or crops. There is also a ban on trail hunting, though no clear definition of what Lax considers trail hunting to be. The SCA says restrictions on the use of dogs to control foxes is an unnecessary and unjustified attack on rural Scotland.
The impact on farmers is going to be devastating, and it's going to be on a number of different levels. So first of all, it's going to be financially. The farmers will obviously lose stock. They'll lose more stock than they would generally because of the red tape and the legislation. It's going to be harder to obtain a licence. The mental health impact is going to be severe. They have to spend more time away from their family. They're going to have to be out shooting later at night in areas that are inaccessible. So, you know, the shooting is not necessarily effective. So that being told, it's not just a financial issue, there's a whole bigger picture.
The capercaillie will be extinct in Scotland in 30 years. That's the conclusion of a damning Scottish Government report. The RSPB has spent millions of pounds of taxpayers and lottery money on failed initiatives to conserve the bird, but political dogma stops it from effective predator control, so the bird is dying out. The Scottish Gamekeepers Association condemns the RSPB for its failures and also lacks for its new law on hunting with dogs. Gamekeepers say the bill as it stands will reduce predator control for capercaillies still further. A study by Cambridge University found that 99.5% of 215 pheasants killed by a shotgun shell contained lead. In 2020, Basque and other shooting groups agreed that shooters in England would phase out lead shot over a 5-year period. After they agreed, there is no safe level for lead in the human body. While Justice is calling on the Westminster government to ban the use of lead ammunition, and DEFRA confirms it may introduce a ban via a government order called a statutory instrument. Cartridge manufacturers have struggled to raise the finance for the machinery to replace lead shot with steel shot. The industry has been under pressure due to restrictions caused by the pandemic. Andrew Venables runs a firearms training business.
The word transition is useful because it suggests there's some voluntary thing. I don't think we're insisting everybody has to transition away from lead. We're trying to get a better understanding of what's available in addition to lead-based ammunition, because if a ban does come and we haven't embraced any new technology or any potential future plans, and we're sitting there on a pile of lead ammunition legislated out of existence, what sort of future is that?
Junior shooters have showed off their skills at the school's championship finals in England. More than 300 pupils from 140 schools took part at the event in Staffordshire. Dean Bale, who won silver at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games, cheered them on from the sidelines. He says it's great to see so many young athletes coming through in the grassroots environment. Dean hopes the championships will be one step towards more shooters becoming world class. A senior lawyer has been charged with the murder of a man who was shooting rabbits in Ireland. Dermot Phelan is accused of killing Keith Conlon. The 36-year-old was shot in the head on farmland near Tollet and later died in hospital. Mr. Conlon's lurcher dog was also shot and killed in the incident. A district judge remanded the 53-year-old lawyer, lecturer and senior counsel in custody for a week. South Africa has granted its annual hunting and export licences quotas for black rhino, leopard and elephant. The government says its allocation of 10 black rhinos is based on population estimates, which show an increasing trend. The numbers of the animals in the wild have doubled to more than 5,000, though the IUCN lists them as critically endangered. The Forestry and Environment Ministry has also announced 150 elephants and 10 leopards can be killed. Leopard hunts will be restricted to animals aged 7 or older in regions where large cat populations are stable or increasing. It's not required to issue a quota for lions. The hunting sector conservatively contributed more than £300 million to the economy in 2019, says South Africa's Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Department. Big game hunters remain the only group prepared to pay for the game, with wealthy celebrity aunties refusing to fund conservation by buying these animals. India plans to import cheetahs from Namibia. The animal became extinct in India 70 years ago. The aim is to bring back 50 of the big cats over a period of 5 years. Their new home will be in the Kuno National Park in the north of the country. CITES has spoken up for trophy hunting. The Geneva Environment Network organised an event to discuss Tom Opre's film Killing the Shepherd about hunting and conservation, with a panel including CITES Secretary General Yvonne Iguero. She committed to including community issues in the decision-making process around hunting sports, which means CITES support for projects such as NASCO in Namibia and Campfire in Zimbabwe. CITES regulates the import and export of animal parts around the world and has shown declining support for hunting tourism. Until this event, hunting organisations were concerned that aunties had hijacked CITES. Aunties are now furious. And finally, DNA evidence has saved the black bear, Hank the Tank. The 500-pound junk food addict was blamed for terrorising homes in Northern California and Nevada. Now genetic analysis reveals he's not the only one breaking into more than 150 properties. The Department of Fish and Wildlife say he's one of 3 bears that have been causing chaos around homes in Lake Tahoe looking for fast food fixes. It says the troublesome trio will be trapped and released into a suitable habitat. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. Now a recipe for pulled wild boar from Bradley Smokers.
This pulled boar sandwich is a serious crowd pleaser. It's juicy, succulent and just so good. First, we're going to set the Bradley to 135 degrees Celsius. That's 275 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using the hickory briquettes for some nice, strong and sweet smoke. Now, lather your shoulder with a good binder like this American mustard I've got here. Dust over a good amount of rub. Now I'm going to place in the Bradley for around 4 hours to take in that smoke and add some colour. So in a pot we're going to put in some red wine vinegar, soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, mustard, ketchup, brown sugar, maple syrup, cayenne and paprika. Give it a stir. Let it cool down. I'm going to add that into the mix later on. Here I have some butter, brown sugar, honey and peach nectar. We're going to wrap that tight and chuck it back in until it's ready. We're looking at about 198 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 92 degrees Celsius. This could take about 3 to 4 hours. My God, this is just incredible. It's juicy, falls apart, and the aroma just knocks you for six. This is just an amazing sandwich, a serious crowd pleaser. Truly delicious.
As you could probably tell, that featured the voice of top game chef Cai Ap Bryn. And you can find out more about Cai's game chefing at gameandflames.com. Next up, I go on a gun waving exercise in Florida.
It's a complete mind scramble when these quail get up and you actually have to, you're shooting level compared to blue sky, which is, antithetical for us, right? But, we'll get there at the end. That's one of the biggest things that I've had to overcome challenge-wise shooting these quail, is making sure that I take these shots when my instinct is saying absolutely not. So, but that's part of the fun of it.
Three of us, sharing 2 guns and a camera, drive out with a guide to find quail on a big estate in central Florida. Our guide describes the hunting area.
In these pine trees right here, this is called wild bird. This is actually wild bird west and wild bird east. And they call it that because there's quite a few wild coveys of quail in here. So there's a good chance that we're going to find some wild birds in here.
When we get there, we unload 2 dogs and load up 2 guns.
We don't feed them with the feeders anymore because it attracts rattlesnakes, but we do feed in here to keep the birds here.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the areas right here that we feed, that wild birds come to.
Nice.
So there's a good chance we could get on a wild covey of birds right here.
And how will those fly differently, you think?
They're smaller and faster.
Smaller and faster. Excellent.
Small and fast are exactly what make quail such a fabulous sporting quarry. And they explode in front of you.
I think that was a 2 por 1.
Flying always at once. I am quickly put in my place.
The bird?
James lived for years in the UK, so is in a good position to compare quail to British walked-up shooting.
Got it. It's pretty much the apex of snap shooting. I mean, it's beyond grouse even. The speed on these things, it's incredible. Bird here.
Yeah, nice one.
10 to 1.
Dogs are essential here, and our guide uses a combination of pointing and flushing dogs. They love their work and can get over-enthusiastic. But that's the way the pro guides like them. The dogs work hard for it. It's not hot, but guides here are careful to give them a regular cool-off in ponds scraped throughout the woods. Our guide also changes over dogs twice during our morning outing. They have to be on top form because when it comes to dead quail, there are other interested parties.
It's fine when the dogs work once or twice a week, but when they're working 5 or 6 days a week for 6 months straight, you have to change them out frequently so they don't get overworked.
There is the occasional de-thorning. This brush is brutal on dogs, but they love it, and it's all for the greater good, that is, quail hunting. James is getting it together nicely. They can pop up from anywhere.
Bird right here.
Damn it.
Here, again.
See him running along the floor there.
Nice shot.
So we had guesses so far. 14, 22 and 30.
17.
17. Ooh. I think 14 is a winner there.
Yeah, 14 is a winner.
Yep.
just solid meat.
You've only got light birds on this side.
Nice shot, Jonathan. Oh, look at those go.
More wild birds. Watch it down. We'll get back on them. So those birds sit down right
Sit down right by the pine tree.
Yeah. Right.
He's been on the ground for a while, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We get a lesson in quail aging.
These are males. Males have the white under the throat and over the eye. And then you can tell how old they are if you look at these feathers right here, these small feathers. If you look at these small feathers, when they have the little white tips on them, that means it was hatched this year. After their first year, Thunder, stop. Let's go.
It's all right to see man and dog.
So after their first year, after their first molt, it'll turn all gray. Come on, guys, let's go.
Now that's an enthusiastic dog. James is a quail hunting superfan.
I would say that southern quail hunting like this is definitely the pinnacle of bird sport. It really is, especially in this area. And you see the way they do this type of preserve, which is so well done. And then you go up into places like Georgia. I mean, just spectacular. These are basically they're like the equivalent of like a country club, but for shooting instead of golfing. And so yeah, the quail is definitely the pinnacle of shooting, American shooting. I think so.
We're betting 42, 43.
32, 33. 4, 39, 40.
I think this was the last one that came out with our guide and didn't shoot well.
For more about quail hunting at Silver Lake Preserve in Florida, go to silverlakepreserve.com. They even give you freeze-packed quail to take home. Thank you, James Schneider, for asking me along. And James is one of our Fieldsports Nation supporters. What's the Fieldsports Nation, I hear you ask? Well, it's our happy gang of 2,000 people who back the work we do in the media, pointing out the lies and the violence of the antis and generally pouring sand into Chris Packham's undies. You can find out how to join them by following the link in the description below. Next up, news correspondent Deborah Hadfield lifts the lid on hunting trophies. Just how unpopular are they?
Precious treasures or tainted trophies. Boris Johnson and Zach Goldsmith are convinced people should hate trophies like these, and they're determined to ban imports of them to the UK. The government might be facing an uphill battle. Many people disagree with them, as the booming trade in taxidermy proves. Collectors are still keen to get their hands on these exotic pieces. Some of these items were actually hidden in the owner's attic. His wife knew he loved taxidermy, but it wasn't until after his death she discovered the true extent of his passion. It's one of the most unique collections in private hands. Kevin Gittoes collected hundreds of items at his home in Worcestershire. His widow Julie put them up for auction in February 2022. Like trophy auctions up and down the UK, they made high prices. Old trophies have never been so popular.
A lot of the African examples we've got in the sale, you can no longer, for example, elephant's feet, is a big no-no. And, a lot of the, the species here, it's dating back to Victorian times, is now obviously, protected species. So, it's not something that, collectors can, obviously source today if they wanted to.
Taxidermy was considered to be an art form in the Victorian era. It gave people the chance to get up close and personal with animals they wouldn't normally see. It's still just as popular today. Tom Douglas and his father Sean have a family taxidermy business in Wiltshire that's thriving.
Very popular in the Victorian times, then it died off a bit for general people. Surprisingly, in modern days, even vegans and vegetarians are big buyers of mine for ethically sourced taxidermy, so stuff that's roadkill, not so much shot, etc. Absolutely flat out lately. It's very popular at the moment and just keeps getting busier. We're getting a lot of work from new people to the sport who shoot their first birds, or fishermen catch their first big fish. A lot of stuff's trophy deer. People shoot a big deer, a big trophy, or even their first animal of a species and want to save it as a memory on the wall.
Zach's proposed ban on importing hunting trophies didn't stop buyers from all over the world getting their hands on the Kevin Gitto's collection. It all started because the collector loved shooting.
I introduced him to shooting and things like that, and my father was in West Africa, and of course in the colonial service, what they do was shoot animals and stuff animals and collect relics. And of course he come back from Africa during the war, and I suppose whether a bit rubbed onto Kevin, I don't know.
The private pre-auction viewing of the collection at Bishton Hall in Staffordshire was busy with buyers.
It's a great collection, what I can see of it.
So mainly I'm interested in the fish. I'm also fascinated by the heads, because it's almost repugnant now to see them. You know, that in my youth I used to see old photographs and think, oh wow, they look incredible. And now they're almost a thing from the past. So that's a really interesting collection.
Unbelievable. It's just simply unbelievable.
A lot of overseas interest. Now, obviously, with auctions, I've moved a little bit online. So with that, it means that it's opened the world up a lot more to bidding just from the UK, and a lot more shipping companies have, expanded their sort of aspect to, get these flown around the world.
The auction raised more than £11,000, much higher than expected. The top single bid of £850 was for a mounted fox. An African lion head sold for £541.
It's got a set niche of collectors, and they have big collections, and they're always looking for a different species to add to their collection. And it's a case of what they want to do is have one example of everything in their collection.
And what's going to happen to the money raised at the sale? Kevin's widow Julie is donating it to a cancer charity.
Thanks to all for those interviews. Now from long dead lions to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube. It is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the top hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. £3,000 worth of competition prizes thanks to Robin from Team Foxer. He's an ambassador for Hick Micro. In this film, he's giving away a TQ50 Thunder thermal scope and an Olight torch. Thanks to Jim Smith for semi-automatic rat shooting, air rifle pest control on the Pellet Power channel, showing rat control on a pig farm with a couple of pards. If you like your hound work, Venery TV is out with a pack of Basset Fauve de Bretons after rabbits. This film, which doesn't contain much French, is about some of the most enchanting hunting with hounds you can do. Hunt On Demand is a subscription channel that has nabbed some of the most popular YouTubers in Germany. Occasionally they break free and post an episode on their old YouTube channels. Here is Dries Pross's half-hour-long best driven hunting. I have a special soft spot for stalking in Newfoundland. A large woodland caribou head hangs in my hall. This is a Newfoundland moose hunt from the Huntin' on the Rock channel, including a 374-yard shot the narrator describes as not a big deal. Our pal Nico Else in South Africa is grey diker bow hunting on foot. It's an old buck that's been hanging around the river area. Nico runs East Cape bushveld hunting, and it's his first bow hunting outing. Blood Origins has brought out its Success Untold documentary. Robbie Kruger goes behind the curtain of the successful wildlife management model in South Africa, meeting estate owners, trackers and professional hunters. And finally, you may have heard in news how the RSPB has failed the capercaillie in Scotland. It is incredible that they still have the brass neck to use the bird as a fundraiser, which they do in this video about counting capercaillie. really should be quite a short job these days. Still, lovely man bun. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page and on our website, and we'll contact you about this show, Field Sports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Field Sports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.